Okay, today I decided to make a video on how I make and basically continue cycling new phytoplankton. Because from what I've seen on the internet, there wasn't anything that simple, and the way I do it is really simple for me, and it's just kind of changing things out. And every 10 days I make a new batch and don't really mess with it between those 10 days. So all I needed to start was 4 of the same kind of jugs, 4-gallon glass containers. Obviously you need airline tubing and the air pump, and you need the rigid tubing as well that goes down in the jars, and you need lights. Beyond that, you need fertilizer, which I use Fritz Pro A and B algae food, and that's basically all you need besides the phytoplankton. So I'm gonna go take this and get my water ready for tomorrow when I'm gonna split these cultures. I'm gonna harvest one of those jars. I'm gonna split the other jar into these 2 for the next culture. But I need to go get water and get it ready with the salt and the fertilizer, and that's something you do the day before. Alright, so I took one of those jars and I just put RODI water in it, and I've got the bubbler on. So the next step is just to mix up salt water. So all I do is I dump a little, barely any, not even half a scoop of this salt in there. I basically use whatever salt I have laying around. This is the Black Bucket Red Sea Coral Pro stuff, so it's a little expensive for making phytoplankton, but I don't really care. So that might be a little much, but either ways, that'll probably give me like 0.01. That'll probably give me 0.015-ish. So put the salt in, and I just basically let it mix up for a few minutes, and I come back and check the salinity. And basically, I'm shooting for a salinity. I'm shooting for around 1.015 specific gravity. Anything between 0.010 and like 0.030 is fine for phytoplankton. This stuff is pretty hardy, so it really isn't that crucial how you do it. I try to keep mine low, like I said, about 0.15, just because I end up dumping a bunch of this stuff in my aquariums, and I don't really want to screw up my salinity over there. So I try and keep it on the lower end of what's acceptable for the salinity of a phytoplankton culture. So that's fairly mixed up. So what I'll do is I'm going to take the salinity. Once the salinity is right, then I'm going to go and add the algae food. Let me get back in. Okay, this is mixed up enough. This ended up being 0.012, which is fine. The longer I do this, the more I realize that I get lazier and I don't really worry about it, and the more I realize it doesn't really matter. Stuff is tough, and as long as you're in like a reasonable range, everything's gonna work fine. So once that's mixed up and, you know, in a decent range, 0.012 is fine, I add my fertilizers. I have used barely any of this, and I've been doing this for over a year. I use a syringe here, 1 milliliter syringe basically, and it's basically, it says like a half a milliliter of each per gallon. So I'm going to split this into 2 gallons. So I use 1 milliliter of each. And this one's yellow. And where is it? Okay, that's close enough. So that one's yellow, the other one's clear. So that's all I do is put it in there, and between doing this I go and I rinse out my syringe so I can put the other solution in there. I'm not sure exactly how they would react if I didn't rinse them out, but I do it just because I've always done here. It's really not easy to do with one hand. Okay, anyway, so rinse out the syringe and go back and put in part B. That was part A. Like I said, I use the Fritz F2 algae food. There are a bunch of different kinds of this algae food, but this one is by far the best, the biggest amount for the best price. You can just get it on Amazon. But this is like a what is it, a gallon jug? I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like a gallon. So this is easily the best price for how much you get. I would say the one place you can go wrong in making phytoplankton is when you're adding your A and B parts of your fertilizer, is to somehow forget, or not add one of them. Add one half and then not add the other half, and you think everything's fine, and then something doesn't work. But I guess one of the most important parts of this entire procedure is making sure that you complete each step. So having a system where so I put them both down here on the shelf, so as soon as I put the first one in there, I put it back up here, and then when I put the second one in there, I put it back up there. So now I know I've put both of them in there, so I'm not going to miss one of them in the solution and screw it up somehow. So like I said, that's basically the only thing you need to make sure you're doing with these things, is make sure you're actually putting all the stuff in there and not omitting a step, because if you do, then you might have problems. But so far I haven't had any problems, but I won't say never, but so far no problems. But another thing about the fertilizer is that the more you put in, the less of a chance of this stuff, less of a chance of your culture crashing, but also the longer it takes to use up all that fertilizer. So I was using it 7 days, and it turns like if you use phytoplankton that's not fully used all the fertilizer, when you put it in your tank, it'll grow things in your tank that you don't want growing there, like algae, bubble algae, hair algae, things like that. So for my setup, which I've got 2 lights over here sounding it for 10 days, going at 12 hours a day. For my setup, about 10 days is right for the amount of fertilizer I put in there and the amount of light. And basically that uses up all the fertilizer. I haven't had a crash yet, so maybe I'm still using too much fertilizer, but I just err on that side. I'm not too worried about algae in my tank, but like I said, if you use too much fertilizer and there's too much left over in your phytoplankton solution, it will grow extra algae in your tank. So either way, so this is done. This is getting ready now. It'll be ready for tomorrow when it's time to harvest the phytoplankton. But basically, you want somewhere around a day. I leave it in there overnight, but 12 to 24 hours mixing up to get the solution ready, and it'll be ready by tomorrow. So pick it back up tomorrow. Okay, today is the 10th of March, and it's time. This has been in here, I don't know, 18-ish hours, maybe 20, long enough. So it's time to harvest this phytoplankton, but we'll do it step by step here. First thing we gotta do is take this in there and split it up between 2 jars. I'm gonna split the phytoplankton into 2. So like I said, this has been going for almost 24 hours, and it's ready to go now. And today's, like I said, the 10th of March. And the best thing about doing this phytoplankton for me is that it gives me a time, it gives me a day that I need to do it every 10 days. So that also gives me a time that I do my other things in my tanks, as far as checking alkalinity, whatever you test, something like that. I only test alkalinity, salinity every once in a while, but alkalinity I do it every time I do phytoplankton, every 10 days. And then I clean the glass. So those are the only 2 things I really do for my tanks at this point. Clean the glass, check alkalinity. But I do those when on the day that I do phytoplankton, so it keeps me in the routine. Because if I don't have a day that I have to do it, then it gets to be 12 days, and then it gets to be 15 days, and it gets to be 20-something days, and it'll just be, I'll never do it. So this way, cleaning the glass is so much better if you do it fairly often. Even if it doesn't look like it needs it, it's much better to do it fairly often. Otherwise, the glass gets really crusty and terrible. So either way, I've got a strainer, I've got my gallon pouring jug here, I've got the mix-up solution, I've got a chopstick for later. So either way, I pour all these solutions through my strainer, just because every once in a while there's hair or garbage or whatever in them. The clean solution isn't that big of a deal. Usually all you'll see is maybe there's some hair in it or something random like that. But once you get the phytoplankton, then there's a little more chunky crap in there. Okay, also, one thing I didn't mention about this jar before is that before I started using these jars, like I said I got 4 jars, I put lines on all of them. So this line is the gallon, or it's actually less than a gallon, but what's more important is this line here is half of this line, volume-wise. So I just measured that out by taking the volume I was going to use in here, that line, which like I said, it's a little less than a gallon actually. Because the whole container is a gallon. This is less than a gallon. So whatever this is, that's half of it. And I use that in this next step when it comes to measuring out the solution I just made and splitting it equally between the 2 jars. So that's one thing I'll have to do before I start. So let me change this around. Point over here. Oh, whoa. Point that way. Boom. Okay. So, like I said, I go with this one first because it got the line there. Halfway. And it should come out to just about that much. That probably a little more. Whoa! Whoa! Okay. Wasn't terrible. Alright. Let me take that off here now. Alright. Still with me? Alright, so you got the point. These are halfway filled up now, and they're even right at the line that I previously did. So next thing I gotta do is go grab the phytoplankton, and I use the first jar. I split the jar first into these 2 and go put them back, and then I harvest the other one. So, but let me go grab those now. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Okay, I just took the 2 jars of phytoplankton that were ready out. I took them in the kitchen, and this is something I almost forgot to show, but here are the 2 straws that were in the phytoplanktons. And they get a little gunky looking, a little sketchy looking, but if anything, when they get a little bit rough looking, in like a couple weeks worth of whatever, I end up just wiping them off with a paper towel. I mean, you know, this is hard to do on camera, so I'll just wipe it off. So I just basically just go from top to bottom, wipe them off with a paper towel, excuse me, and they still look pretty dirty when I'm done there. But these have been going for over a year and they're still fine. The one thing that may happen after a while is the bottom there will get crusted up and built over with some kind of whatever this crap is on the outside of the straw here. It'll crust up and cover your pipe there, or your tube. So if you notice your air, hey Spark, if you notice your air not coming out fast and your air pump and everything's cranking the way it should be, then it's probably covered up there. So you got to check that. If you have a problem, that's a problem that could happen. Is, like I said, I guess it's calcium or whatever build up on the end of the hoses there. So either way, these are ready and these are ready. So let me go ahead and harvest the one I'm going to not harvest, but let me get the one I'm going to split ready here. So okay, hopefully this is a better camera mount than before. All right. So the one I usually split is the one that has the line in the middle, which doesn't really matter, but here's my phytoplankton stir. There's usually phytoplankton built up on the sides and the bottom. I'm sure you don't have to do this, but I do it just, I don't know, might as well get as much of the phytoplankton as I can there. And the same process that I used with the clear jugs there of straining it. And this one, the strainer actually comes out a little bit of funkiness on it. So that's that one. And then this is self-explanatory, but all I do is take it and fill up those jugs evenly, just like I did with the other solution. This is where well, a little bit off. Either way, so this is one that I'm going to harvest next time. This one I usually go this one all the way full with the phytoplankton to the line, and this one, due to evaporation and whatnot, sometimes it comes out a little bit under the line, but that's fine. It's gonna be. I'll throw in some RO water and it'll be even. So that's basically all that. Besides taking these and plugging them back into the station over there, these are done and ready to go. And the last part will be taking the stuff I'm actually going to harvest and then clean up. Okay, the new ones are plugged back in. I don't have the lights on, but they are much less dark than the old ones. They're going to darken up over the next 10 days. But basically, I usually do this when the lights are out when it comes to changing these things out, because it's just more convenient than having a light shine in your face when you're doing it. So those are back in the station. And now all I have to do is go over here and harvest the other glass jug, which is this one over here, ready? Alright, so same thing. Got my phytoplankton stir, and this one's a little more important to stir it up because it's been sitting here while I was doing the other one, and without the bubbler going in here really strong, then the phytoplankton will settle out a little bit, but it's still not bad. You probably still need to do this, but like I said, I do it anyway. And same process. There, a pouring gallon, and stuff in it. And same thing, got some sediment, extra algae, whatever in there, but that comes out, no problem. And we'll go over here and finish the harvesting part. Yo, that's about right, yep. So there it is. That's the last step, just pouring out the phytoplankton you harvested. Which, here's a tip for you. When you're pouring something through a funnel like this, don't leave the funnel sitting there, because then the air won't come through and it won't pour in as quick, it'll back up. If you hold it up, so there's an air gap, and it pours in a lot easier, faster. I can pour it a lot faster than this, but I'm just, trying to make a huge mess while I'm doing stuff here. Alright. So, like I said, it was a little bit less than an actual gallon, because I have that line a little lower on the glass jugs here. This is just an empty water jug. Today is the 10th of March. Alright, and now let me show you the biggest problem that most people have with having a phytoplankton culture. The biggest problem is you end up with too much phytoplankton. So, and that's the biggest problem with this whole system is, more than you can handle, and then you have to sell the crap or do whatever with it, and it's a real pain. But either way, so the other thing about this stuff is, as far as maintenance goes, you need to come in and shake it up every few days. So you can see I did it every 10 days. 20 February, 10 February, 2 March. Okay, those are out of order. It doesn't matter. Either way, so I did it every 10 days. And here's the one I'm using. But you need to come in here and shake them up, because they settle out in the refrigerator. And if you don't shake them up every... You know what? I don't even know the timeline on that either, because I've never had one actually go bad on me. Like people say it'll die and it'll build up and die on the bottom or whatever. But in my experience, I think I've gone as long as 5 days before I shook them up and not had a problem. But just to be sure, or just to be safe, you probably want to shake them up every, let's go with 3 days. 3 days is going to keep you from having any problems. But like I said, so here's the other reason I have slightly less than a gallon that I do my cultures in. One is it makes the cultures more convenient to work with, but also it makes them way better to shake up. This is what came out of each culture. This is the exact same amount I got today. So it leaves the air here, and it makes it way more easy to shake up the bottom stuff that's settled down. Then if this was all the way up here with no air in there, then shaking it would take a long time to get that stuff off the bottom. But with this much air, flip it over, hold the lid, and just shake it up, and it shakes out in no time. But either way, that is my comprehensive, step-by-step phytoplankton culture, harvest, whatever video. And the whole purpose here was to make this comprehensive and quick and no fiddling around, and just showing you exactly what you need to know, exactly what you need to do step by step to get things done and have this work out for you like it's worked out for me. But either way, if you like the video, or like I said, I don't like to I don't like to kill people's time with a bunch of random talking that isn't actually contributing anything. So like I said, I tried to pack in as much as I could, talking fast and going step by step. But like I said, if you like the video, please hit like. If you want to see more like this, I'm not sure how many more I'm going to be doing for reef tanks. I just kind of like to do random shit that I think might actually be, useful to people. But most of it will be pretty interesting, though. It's it's kind of the stuff that I seem to find interesting. I'll make some videos on, but it'll be pretty random and it'll be pretty interesting. But yeah, so like I said, if you like this kind of video, want to see more, subscribe. If you want to see more reef tank type stuff, comment in the comments what you want to see. I'm not sure I'm the guy to do it for you. I generally like to make the videos that I've researched and know exactly what I'm doing. But if you want to see something that I might be able to fix for you, make a video on it, leave that in the comments. Otherwise, please subscribe. If you really want to see the videos, hit the notification bell. But, whatever. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll see some more of this. You know what? I guess that wasn't it. This part seems kind of trivial to me, but I just realized I forgot to show you the cleaning. So what I do is I just fill these up with hot water, use a sprayer, kind of blast some stuff off the sides if I can. All three things here, and those two things and the stick. Once I get done filling these up, I dump them out. Once they're dumped out, I just take 2 paper towels for each. So the half paper towels actually. So I take a half paper towel, fold it up, and once it's dumped out, I wipe it out to get kind of the gunk off the sides and dry it out a little bit. Then I take another paper towel, douse it in alcohol till it's basically just soaking wet, and then I do the same thing, wipe all over the thing with alcohol, and I don't worry about drying it up, but I just get it all wet all the way over, wipe it all out, make sure there's no more random crud on the glass. And same thing with this, and then I just flip them over, go back in there and put them back on the rack where they go, and that's it for the cleaning. So thanks for watching.